Welcome back to the Leicester City Women's Wrap-Up Show. Another day, another super fun special episode. This one I'm really excited about, but I say that every single time. But this one's definitely a special one. As usual, I've got James with me. James, how are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Been looking forward to this one for a long time, so quite excited.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've done the show, I feel like. So it's good to be back and to come back. But we've got Lydia Bedford joining us. Lydia, how are you?
Yeah, I'm really good, thank you.
And you've got Baxter with you as well.
Yep, I'm not sure he's going to say much, but
it's amazing. It's nice seeing Baxter because we saw that he got kitted out by the club and everything. He's got his bowl, he's got his scarf, so that's awesome.
Yeah, he's got everything he needs. Just isn't allowed in the stadium. That's the only downside.
That's got to change. We got to change that. We'll start a petition.
That would be
but
good.
he is at Beaver Drive a lot. So how has it been settling into that facility, and considering you're allowed Baxter there as well? I'm sure that's just a bit of a bonus.
Yeah, the facility's amazing. I think the word I use a lot is we've got no excuses. We've pretty much, bar a swimming pool, we've got everything we could possibly need to run the program that the girls need to be as prepared as possible for the games. And I think it's great that because there's so much space there, you're not competing with anybody to be able to get on any pitches or into the gym. We can tweak the schedule at the last minute if we need to. So yeah, it's a pretty incredible facility for a women's Super League team to have access to. And Baxter's settled in very well. He spends most of the training sessions sat with the analysts. And yeah, other than that, he kind of rocks around the office area and every so often gets let into the canteen, as long as he stays out the kitchen.
But he loves it in the kitchen, doesn't he?
He tries to get in there, but I think health and safety will probably have us for that. So it's bad.
Lydia, when you came to Leicester, obviously the training ground in the stadium, and we talk about this quite a lot, is probably one of the best facilities in the WSL. Was that kind of one of the factors for you making a decision to come here?
Do you know what? It probably wasn't the main factor. I hadn't seen the training ground or the facilities before I walked in on day one. So I wasn't really kind of sure what I would be walking into, other than that when I'd had a conversation with the board, they'd shared that they felt it was a real top facility, and obviously the men had used it previously. So I kind of took a guess from that. I think it was more about just feeling like it was the right opportunity to move into management, and the right time and the right club, more so than the facilities. And the facilities became a real bonus once I realised quite how good they were as well.
And we've seen the men's side make history in those facilities, winning league titles. And we saw the women's side win a league title, gaining promotion. And now we're seeing them getting their first wins in the WSL. And you just got your first away win against Birmingham City, which is huge. And how did it feel coming off of that? Because you've been winning back-to-backs at the King Power, and now you're winning away as well. It's so amazing to see. How is it feeling?
Yeah, I definitely feel like we're building a bit of momentum and belief in amongst the players. The win at the weekend was a pretty critical one, but I don't think it will define the season completely. And I'm sure there will be more tough games to come that we'll need to be prepared for. But I think at the moment, the mentality of the squad's in a really good place. And I think they feel that if they get things right, they can be competitive with most teams within the league. So that's a really good place to be. And we've got a tough run kind of like March, April time. So it'll be a test of their character to see if they can maintain that belief as we kind of move to the last part of the season.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you're just coming off of also knocking Spurs out of the FA Cup. So that's amazing too. You guys are you're doing bits out there. It's awesome.
Yeah, I think that was a bit of a shock result. I'm not sure we went into the day expecting that to be the outcome, but I think we took the opportunities that we had within the game, and the girls stuck to the game plan and worked on some of the things we tried to kind of put right from the Villa game the week before. So I think that was, again, just testament to their resilience, that they managed to remain competitive throughout the game against a strong Spurs side.
I think when you came in, Lydia, we saw a kind of big improvement with the way the team was performing together. What kind of things did you do when you first came in to try and make it more of a team rather than individuals? Because they seem to be more gelled together than they've been for a long time.
Yeah, I think I had 3 or 4 days to observe before I kind of took over, which was great. Travelled with the team to the United fixture that Emil led on. And I guess some of my early observations was that the team was reasonably divided. And then we sat down with them, I think the first Monday, Tuesday that I was in, and spoke to them about what it was they wanted to achieve, and asked them why, like what their individual why is, what drives them. And I think it was quite a powerful day because they were very open about what their experience had been to that point and how they were kind of feeling. And there's a few emotions here and there as well as they were kind of expressing what their why was. And maybe with some of them, the feeling that they weren't really sure what their why was at this stage. So I felt, one of the biggest things that I could do in those first 2 weeks was really around the culture and the environment and how it felt to be part of the squad. There was very little I was going to be able to change tactically before the Birmingham game, but I could work on just the feeling around the group on a day-to-day basis. So it was really just trying to focus on those things first, and kind of instill that belief. And I think just maybe the change in management did help as well without us even doing too much. It was a fresh lens to come in and have a look, and I think the players always respond to that. So there was a mixture of kind of, us trying to really drive certain aspects of the environment and them taking that opportunity and really starting to push each other, but also recognise that to achieve anything this season, they've got to do it together. So, just trying to bring them a bit closer together.
Yeah, and I think it's worked tremendously well with the performances, and now the results are showing that. So it's a huge credit to you and your team for doing that. So thanks from behalf of the supporters.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
And one thing that you kind of brought in that we've really noticed is you have like this whole team building thing that you do every week. And that's just so awesome to see. Like it looks like a lot of fun for one, but it's also, it's refreshing to see. Cause I think with a lot of clubs we just see like the training, like they just train. And to see that you guys are organizing these activities every week, it's just really refreshing to see. So how do you like think of some of the stuff that you guys do? Because it genuinely seems like fun.
Yeah, I think for me it's really important that they have something to connect over, and I can tell them that I want them to be a more connected squad. But the reality is you walk into the dining room and even now, the same groups of players that were sat together when I walked through the door are probably still sat together. So I think it's about trying to facilitate moments where they do mix amongst each other, and having some kind of formal activities helps with that. And I think what I've found is the more formal activities you do that almost force that interaction, the better it is in kind of like informal moments. Oh, sorry, he's going for it now. But like, for example, last Saturday before we played Birmingham, we did like a cube activity on the Saturday evening. And then I walked into pre-match on the Sunday morning, and I was a few minutes late, and I sat down, and one of the analysts said to me, look around the room, like that's the most integrated they have ever looked at breakfast. And I did, like, looked around and I thought, you know what, they have mixed up. So I think it was, for me, like my greatest memories working at the FA aren't the games of football. It's the trips, the activities, the social moments, seeing a random waterfall, managed to go to Disney one year. They're the bits that I really remember. And I think, they're paid professionals. They're there to excel in their football, but just having something away from it kind of helps to keep that ticking over and not make the environment stale. So, I think the ideas probably come from many different years of doing those types of activities on camps with young players, and also a recognition of the fact that it doesn't matter what the activity is. Like a few weeks ago, they had straws and Maltesers and we're doing relays across the room. I mean, most 8-year-old parties would probably enjoy that activity. But the reality is, if I got asked to do it, I'd have a hell of a time doing it. And I know I'd become competitive. I don't think it matters what age you are, as long as it's fun and engaging, you get them going and they become very competitive pretty quickly. So, it was just recognising that and trying to put as many activities in as possible that allow them to do that. And they drive it most weeks on the Wednesdays anyway. Like that's their time where they kind of put their own activities on. But away trips, I try and lead on them as well.
Yeah, that's awesome because it's so important, like you're saying. It's really important that they all kind of link together. And, you said they're like professionals, but they're also like humans. Like they probably want to do some fun stuff outside of the sport. So it's just really awesome to see. And I saw, you mentioned before coming on, we saw a few posts that you guys went golfing today. How was that?
Yeah, that was really good. So that was, I think we've kind of targeted, if we can find the budget to do it, at least one Wednesday a month, it being like a staff and player activity. So the very first social we did with the players in December when I turned up was just like a head tennis tournament in our indoor gym area, which is massive, which the staff did too, and the players loved the staff being involved in it. Similar to like the Cube on Saturday night, we're all together away, so we do it as a group. But yeah, I knew with the recruitment window kind of coming to a close that now would be a good time to do something else as a staff and playing group. So the golf was just an idea that I thought they'd enjoy, and actually I think they had a great time. There was a real mix of ability for once. I'm not the worst individual at the sporting activity that's occurring, so that was nice. But yeah, it's just a chance, as we said before, to chill out, spend some time together away from the football and switch off.
Are we allowed to ask who was the worst at golf?
I mean, I'll leave my Instagram posts to your imagination, but there's 2 particular posts that I put up that weren't fabulous.
We'll take a look there afterwards and see. Yeah, we're trying to get like all of the information out of the club because we've spoken to Kirsty and Sam, and we learned that there's someone taking toiletries. So we're trying to figure out who's doing that as well too. So now we're gonna see who's the worst at golf.
Yeah.
But well, there was a week where you guys also had some type of bird come in. That one looked crazy.
Yeah, so that one wasn't planned. So that week on the Wednesday, the players had planned to do an outdoor fire pit session and toast marshmallows and just chill out. And they were going to bring in a fire pit to do it. But then I think someone fed it back to health and safety, and they got told that they couldn't do that at the training ground. So they were walking off the pitch on the Wednesday, and I think I was chatting to Barks, the captain, and I said, "What are you doing this afternoon?" He said, "Oh, I've just found out we can't do the fire pit. Not sure what we're going to do." And I drive every day past Everard Meadows, I think it's called. Probably pronounced that wrong, so if I've offended anyone from Leicestershire, I'm sorry. And I've never been there, or I hadn't at that point, but it looked, from when I looked on my maps, like it was kind of like an outdoorsy area you could go and walk around. And I'm sure the girls had told me there was a coffee shop at it. So I was like, well, why don't you just all pop over there and get a coffee and go for a walk? And then about 45 minutes later, the pictures of Ash and a few of the other girls holding these birds of prey on their arms appeared on the WhatsApp group. So it was, pure chance. I think that they bumped into someone in the car park who had these birds of prey, and it turned out like a quite a good excursion without really being intended.
That seems pretty crazy. I mean, that's pure luck finding someone with birds like that. You don't just come across that.
It's just crazy that you just find someone with birds of prey in the car park.
I'm just lucky no one got taken off.
But you said that you're kind of like driving around the area and stuff. So you're not from there because you didn't want to offend people from Leicester. And don't worry, that's me pronouncing every single name in the UK. I worry that I offend everyone from there, so don't worry. But what has it been like for you settling in there?
Yeah, good. It's been difficult to kind of get to know the area just because I haven't had the time. I pretty much arrive at the training ground at 8:45 most mornings and don't leave until 6-ish most evenings. So I haven't been out and explored around. Sorry, he's really going for it now. The area too much, but I did actually go to Everard Meadows a couple of weeks after the girls did. My parents came to a game that was at King Power. I think it must have been the Brighton game. And we actually tried to go there for breakfast, and it was so busy that they said you couldn't get a booking till 6 p.m. So we ended up in the coffee shop instead and had a coffee. So I've been to a few bits like that, and Foz Park, the retail park. When I first came up, I had a little look around. But yeah, most of the time it's hit the car and get home as quickly as possible.
Just want to be able to take it easy and relax after a long day. That makes sense, yeah. James is the expert with Leicester. I don't know much about it, but...
I was just thinking about Everard's Meadows. I've been there a few times, and I think we had to book like 3 weeks in advance to get there.
I was really disappointed, to be honest, not to get a cooked breakfast on the morning of the game. But then we beat Brighton, so it was all okay after that.
Made up for it. So, sorry, go ahead, James.
I was just going to say, talking of your parents, your mum makes them amazing hats. That me and Hannah are going to get one each, so that'd be good. One thing I wanted to touch on, Lydia, is your Three Peaks Challenge. So your Three Peaks Challenge, you're doing it for Mind Charity, which I think is an amazing charity. Me and Hannah talk about mental health quite a lot on the show, around the problems that we have and how other people have the same problems. So I think it's a great charity. I just wondered what was your thinking behind doing the Three Peaks Challenge, because it is quite a testing challenge, I believe.
Yeah, I've always wanted to do it, if I'm totally honest. I'm quite a competitive person, and in 2017 I ran the London Marathon. I've never done a marathon since. I don't plan on ever doing one again. So when there's an opportunity to do something like that and a charity, which I kind of feel a reason to raise for, then I like to challenge myself to do something different. I ran the marathon for the Stroke Association in 2017 because my granddad had passed away of a stroke a few years before. So with this one, I'd always wanted to do Three Peaks, and I'd kind of wasn't really sure how to go about doing it. Really got into my walking during lockdown. So I've done, I did Snowdon as a kid a few times too, but done that a couple of times now in the last 12 months. I did Scarfell Pike back in probably last May, June time. Baxter did that as well, to be fair. That was one of his first mountains. I've never done Ben Nevis. So I've kind of, in my mind, done 2 out of 3 independently. The idea of doing all 3 in a row scares me to death, if I'm totally honest, because normally on my way down, I'm thinking about the away trip to McDonald's on the way home, which is the motivation for doing it normally in the first place. But yeah, I've always loved being outdoors. The idea of it excites me and scares me. And I think the Mind charity part, so I'm doing it alongside a really good friend who's had some mental health issues since before lockdown and through lockdown, and who I've supported through that. So when I found out that she was going to step up and do the challenge, I thought, why not? Let's do it together and raise some money, because I think for me, I've been reasonably lucky in terms of my mental health, and to this day, haven't had any particularly negative experiences to have to deal with, but I've seen firsthand that it can affect absolutely anybody. And, however together we look like we've got it on the outside, you don't really know what's going on for anybody on the inside. And having witnessed that firsthand, I think it's so important that we raise the awareness of the work that they do to support people and remove the stigma around saying that you're not okay.
Yeah, I think you're right about mental health, and I know we talk about it quite a lot. So if anybody wants to sponsor you, Lydia, are we okay to drop the GoFundMe link out?
Yeah, that would be brilliant, please, because I don't know when I'm going to do any proper fundraising events.
No, that's great. We'll put it out on all our socials, and hopefully that will give you a bit more money.
Thank you.
We'll definitely plug it in at the end of the show too, when we do all of our little partnership plugs. We'll definitely mention that. So that's really awesome to hear that you're doing stuff like that. So props to you for bringing attention to some stuff that needs to be spoken about. So just kind of hopping back into, you as a manager, the transfer window just closed. So we have to talk about that. We've seen so many young players come in, and, you've been involved with so many youth programs. And so what is your philosophy around youth development?
Good question. It's a good question. I think from the experiences I've had over the last kind of 7 years at the FA, I guess my big thoughts around English talent, and not just English, because, we got home nations here, Wales, Scotland, as much so. But with young players, I think they need opportunity. And if they get opportunity, they tend to flourish. But opportunity is so difficult in this country, and there's not many clubs and coaches that are willing to take that gamble. And I suppose, having sat on the outside looking in at the WSL, I've been frustrated in the past looking at the number of youth talented players that are sat on benches, maybe getting no opportunity from week to week, and knowing what impact that has on their ability to develop as a player. Because you take someone like a Lauren Hemp, who's now in our seniors, she got opportunity at a really young age, and she is very talented, so that was probably fitting to her level of talent. Mm-hmm. But there'll be other players that might have had talent that haven't probably been able to flourish as much because they've not been given the opportunity. So for me, I think it's opportunity at the right time, and it's got to be deserved and warranted. And I think if you've got a coach that's willing to do that, then as a young player, you've got half a chance. So I think from my perspective, it's going to be a fine balance going forward, because I'll always prioritise trying to give that opportunity. But equally, we're in a relegation battle right now, so it's just the knowing when's the right time, and when a player's ready to step up and take that responsibility too.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, we're seeing it so much with Freya Gregory, for example. You can tell she has the passion, she has the drive, and she's been so great in every single match that we've seen her. So you clearly have like a good eye for youth talents, because we see the ones that you've kind of picked up in the transfer window, and they're clearly great moves for Leicester to make. So it's really great hearing like that you're giving them a chance, essentially, because like you said, not every club is willing to give young players a chance, and then they don't get that opportunity to flourish. So it's great seeing that happening at Leicester.
Yeah, I think if it's something that we can develop to be known for doing, then hopefully we'll also have the pick of some of those better younger players coming through that want that opportunity, and we'll ultimately, our aim is to be able to develop players from our own academy system right through to first team, which for the right reason, it is probably something that should be a strength for Leicester, because it's harder to develop from the youth system into your senior side if you're a top 3 or 4 WSL team on a regular basis. But we're still in our infancy as a team in the WSL, and therefore we've probably got more chance to develop those players right now, which is why we should be doing it, in my opinion.
I think it's amazing to see. I would speak about Freya. She seems to just come in and as a youngster just hit the ground running. I think it's great that she's got that confidence. I know that she wasn't playing much at Villa, so it must be another credit to your team, Lydia, that you're giving these girls the confidence to come in and do that job. And she, as Hannah said, she's been outstanding. This what we've seen of her so far, and she seems to be getting better every game.
Yeah, so I was just going to say, I think that's for me where, like, I don't see Freya as a gamble. I've known her since she was 14, and I know what she's capable of doing when given the opportunity. I'm not even sure I consider her to be that young a player. I know she is, but in my eyes, she experienced the relegation battle at Villa last year, and therefore she's kind of felt the situation we're in, and for that reason, I was really confident that she'd be a strong asset for us, and one that I knew would want to come and play. So yeah, like, it's great to see when you can give them that trust that they go and flourish, and yeah, that's really rewarding. I get as much kick out of that as I do the results, but obviously the results are handy too.
And we see you mention player performances a lot on like social media. Like I always say you're super open about how a player performs, and we saw you tweeting the Leicester account asking for Esme's goal. And it feels like you're one of us sometimes, because we'll be hounding them too, being like, where is this clip? But seeing you posting about your thoughts on like a player's performance and stuff like that, it's another thing that's just so refreshing to see come into Leicester, because it feels as if you're connected with us in a way which is just, it's like really open, and we're so thankful for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's been some great examples of that, some great role models for me as well. It might sound crazy, but like someone like Gareth Southgate with the men and the journey that he took everyone on for the Euros last year. I think the more you can make people feel part of the journey, the better. So for me, it's just part of that, trying to engage everybody. The more fans we get, the better the girls will play, the more the game will grow. So yeah, for me, it's a massive part of it that we want to be a part of.
I think it's great that you're getting the fans involved, and we see that the players are kind of taking your lead as well, Lydia. You can see a lot of the players interacting with the fans now as well, and I think the fans love it. And every time we've been to the King Power, it's growing and growing. It's great to see a lot of young girls there now. Obviously, grassroots is really important. So I think the work you're doing is tremendous, because we seem to be encouraging that next generation as well. And having the girls there just means that you get happy faces, and every time we've been to the King Power, it's got louder and louder as a fan base, which I think is quite proud, and you probably see that on the pitch as well.
Yeah, definitely, and I think it gives us an advantage. The noise in King Power for the Brighton game, it was a massive factor in us being able to hold out and see out that result, and we missed it against Villa the following week. I don't think we get the same feel at Pirelli as we do at King Power, and that's clearly because from a travelling distance, it's harder for the fans to get there. We appreciate that. It's a big one for us this weekend against West Ham, and anybody that can get there, we'd love to have them, because I think that will make a big difference. West Ham are an informed team, and one that we know will be a real test for us. But equally, it's another opportunity to go out and pick up points and climb the table. And points this weekend, could really help our journey. So, yeah, I think seeing the fans, that probably the biggest shame for me is the girls can't interact with them too much right now because of the COVID rules and regs. At King Power in particular, you've got to keep the distance from where everybody is, which is a shame. But hopefully in the future that will obviously change. And for me, a massive part of us growing the women's game is that interaction. So the more we can do it, the better.
Yeah. As a fan, I don't like the Pirelli Stadium. I'm going to say it. I think I've had various rants on here before, haven't I, Hannah, about the Pirelli. Yeah. It's the coldest stadium I've ever been in, for a start. It seems to get really windy in there. And I don't know what it's like from where you stand, Lydia, but the pitch just seems awful. The ball doesn't seem to bounce true on it.
Yeah, I mean, I've only experienced 2 games, and I think the day we played Villa, it had been played on the day before, and the conditions that weekend weren't great. I mean, I don't have loads of experience of pitches in the WSL, but I know from the club's perspective, no one wants us to be there long term, and I'm sure it's something that if and when we can shift and change, we will. But ultimately, there's rules and regulations around the type of stadium we need to be in, and at the moment, there's nothing outside of King Power that fits that criteria in Leicestershire. So we are going to have to travel until that can be resolved. So I think it's making the best of that. And I think one of the things I've asked the staff to help us with is just trying to make Pirelli feel as much as home as they possibly can for the players. And we can't make the pitch an excuse. It's not King Power. It's not going to. We're not going to play the exact same football, but the pitch at St Andrews was reasonably similar to what Pirelli was at the weekend, and we still managed to get the result there. And I don't think the pitch was a contributing factor to our result against Villa. I think we could have got more out of that game. We were disappointed to concede in the last minute. So yeah, hopefully in the future the pitch won't be at Pirelli, but for now it is, and we'll cope with that.
And then speaking of West Ham on Sunday, how are you guys feeling going into that one? What has the atmosphere been like at training leading into that?
Yeah, really, really positive. I think things like today help in terms of the golf and just an opportunity to switch off. I think the residual fatigue, for want of going a bit technical, from playing the 120 minutes against Spurs, the emotional drain of the Birmingham game, because, it was reasonably comfortable. I think they had 2 shots on target. One was basically a pass back and one was their goal. And we had 17 shots and didn't put them in the back of the net. So we know that game was comfortable, but emotionally, that game would have taken a lot out of the players on Sunday, despite, everything that went on in it. They knew how big an occasion it was. So I imagine they would have felt quite drained from that. So we've had a bit of fatigue running into the start of this week, and we've got players playing out their skins week in, week out and putting their body on the line. So the international break needs to come quick for us, just to give them a chance to refresh and have a bit of time off. And this weekend's the final push before that. And I have no doubt that the girls will give me 150% of everything they've got on Sunday. And hopefully that will be enough to get us across the line. But the mentality and the feeling's really positive. Just a little bit of fatigue going into the game probably at this stage.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to ask one thing before I forget, just thinking about that Birmingham result. We saw Gemma score straight off of a corner, and she said that set pieces are something that you guys work on, and it shows, because I feel like with the men's side, when we watch them take set pieces, we're scared. But with you guys, we get excited. So it's great, the way that you guys defend corners, or if you're taking a corner or taking a free kick, it's just so good. So it's really great hearing that it sounds like it's almost like a priority for you guys to focus on in training as well.
Yeah, definitely. I can't take a great deal of credit for our set plays. Tony, our goalkeeping coach, is the mastermind of how we defend and the ideas around how we attack. My preference would always be swing the ball under the bar and see what happens. And for Jenna 3 times now, that's got us something. Not always accredited to her, but ultimately she's put the ball in there, whether it's an own goal or not. So it's great that we've got in-swinger takers from both sides. Molly Pike sometimes takes them on her right foot too, which is helpful. Tony does some great work with the girls around, how we defensively match up to deal with opposition's threats. And we've probably, I guess, building on it week in, week out. Initially, when I first came in, it was probably more just match day -1, but definitely in the last few weeks, when you realise how critical that could be to results, we've put more time into it, and we're getting players that aren't in the starting 11 to make sure that they're really acting out exactly what we might face at the weekend, so that we can prioritise giving the players an opportunity to recognise how best to deal with those moments. So yeah, I think it statistically, I've no idea how many have scored or conceded, but I know I'd be reasonably disappointed if we finished a game and it was because we conceded a set play. So you've got to give the time to support the players, and we've got some great headers of the ball. So defensively, I feel like we're reasonably sound, and that's an asset to us in our attack too.
I think it's been good to see as well, Lydia, that the free kicks and the defending of free kicks has been so good. Obviously, you've got Ash at the back, who's quite tall, good at heading the ball. So I think it's good that's working well, because as Hannah said, sometimes when you support teams, free kicks and defending them, you get a bit worried, but you don't seem to be worried with the girls. They just seem to know what they're doing and where to be, etc. And they seem to defend as a unit, which I think is quite good to see.
Yeah, and I think that's where Tony's great, like in terms of problem solving. Like, we're not on the pitch, so they have to be able to problem solve that themselves. And I think they're quite good at analysing what they've done and giving suggestions for how they want to defend things too. So I think the player engagement in that is massive, and that's a real strength.
Absolutely. And like I said, it's so good to watch, and it's also just satisfying, because like we see Gemma putting a goal in from a corner. That's just nice to watch. So props to you guys. I think we got to get Tony on the show as soon as we can, because Kirsty was really giving him credit too. So it sounds like we got to learn all of his secrets.
Yeah, definitely. Like that.
Yeah. But I think we're going to switch into some more of the fun questions that we typically do on the show. So James, should we start with the playlist?
Yeah. So Lydia, we're putting together a playlist of all our guests. Every single guest has picked a song which has gone on the playlist. So sorry to put you on the spot. What song would you like on our playlist?
I'm just going on Spotify quickly now, because I'm just trying to think what it's called. So
do you have a graphic, James, to give her an idea of what everyone else has done?
That's a good question. I think I've got it without Kirsty's on. So we need to add Kirsty's onto that.
Ooh. Okay, so mine would be Maroon 5, Good Mood.
That's a good one. You can't go wrong with Maroon 5.
No, you can't. I wish I could see them live.
What's the reason behind your choice?
Do you know what? I went and I took my nieces to go and see Paw Patrol at the cinema, and it was playing as like the theme tune. And I just remember being sat, there was loads of like credits rolling, and they were like watching the cartoon bits still. And I remember thinking, oh, I really like this. And with Maroon 5, like, I'm not a big music-y person. Like, I don't go to many concerts, but pretty much I can guarantee that every song they've brought out since I was about 16, I've liked. And I've not always realised it was theirs until I've gone, oh, I quite like that. Who is that? Oh, it's Maroon 5 again. So then when I realised it was theirs, obviously that was the same theme as normal. And then I downloaded their greatest hits on Spotify, and it's a song that I think when I put on, like, gets you up for something, like gets you up for what you're doing. And yeah, so a good sing along to that definitely raises my energy levels.
Is that your like go-to song before going into a game?
Yeah, like if I was driving myself to the stadium, that would probably be what I put on. Yeah, to get me going.
That's perfect. Sounds like a great song then.
The other question we do ask is around desert islands. So if you were stranded on a desert island, Lydia, which staff member or player would you want to be with?
Desert island, which staff member or player? I'd have to say Gary or Lindsay, the chefs at the training ground, because their food is unbelievable. So if I'm going to be stranded anywhere, I may as well be stranded with climbing the sofa. Yeah, I may as well be stranded with some fantastic chefs, so that I don't starve to death.
That's a good answer. I like that. If you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be? These are the hard questions now.
One food for the rest of my life. Well, my absolute favourite chocolate is dairy milk, fruit, and nut. So maybe if I'm allowed just to eat chocolate for the rest of my life, it would be that. Just move this so you can see. Always trying to get.
That has the perfect balance though, because you've got chocolate, but then you've got the protein with nut, and then you've got the fruit in there too.
Yep,
It's like healthy.
5 a day. Can't complain.
That's perfect then.
Last thing, Lydia, when you so obviously, I presume you do get some kind of downtime. I know it's difficult. What kind of things do you do on downtime? Do you watch shows or any Netflix series that you kind of binge watch?
At the moment, I really struggle. Like when I get in the evenings, I don't really watch much TV. If I'm going to watch anything, it will be some sort of like BBC series, like, don't know, like some sort of crime thing or anything like that. In lockdown, I watched loads before this job. But I think generally to like switch off, if it's like a Friday and it's our day off, it will definitely involve some sort of big walk of Baxter, definitely involve some form of independent coffee shop. My local is somewhere called Griddle and Grind in St Neots that does toasted sandwiches, and I pretty much spend all day Monday kind of reviewing games in there, and then Friday pop in normally to say hello as well. And Baxter's pretty much as famous there as he is in Leicestershire, so he gets more welcome than I do when he goes in. But yeah, like TV wise, it's a real mix. Like probably one of my guilty pleasures, something like Sex Education. I think that show's hilarious. And I like can't wait for the next series to come out every time one finishes. But yeah, generally any kind of like BBC drama, I'd probably have watched it.
That's fair.
Right.
I'm so bad with TV, so since you love coffee shops so much, like what is your go-to drink? Are you a coffee drinker? Are you more of tea, or do you like those fancy like blended ones?
Yeah, nice. So it's been like a graduation. So I never used to like coffee when I first started teaching when I was about 20. I didn't drink it at all. So I started with a Starbucks caramel macchiato because it was full of sugar and didn't really taste of coffee. And then I gradually have like gone down to what I'd call proper coffee now. So I normally drink flat whites if I'm in an independent coffee shop. Most mornings when I leave, or not most, every morning when I leave to drive to Leicester from here, I stop at McDonald's and get a black Americano, mainly because it's only 99p. So it's a little bit cheaper than going to Starbucks every morning, which would cost me a small fortune. So sometimes I drink black coffee, but generally if it's an independent coffee shop, it will be a decent flat white. But I do have an extreme Starbucks mug collection, which I might walk through and show you in the kitchen in a minute. But Starbucks is my go-to if I'm not going independent.
We saw that in your Twitter bio that you have a Starbucks collection. So I think you have to show it now, because I'm sure tons of fans are like, yeah, we have to see it now.
We'll see it now or in a bit.
James, do you have anything you want to?
No, I was just going to say, we spoke about Everard's Meadow earlier. There's a great coffee shop there called Jennos that I go in there quite a lot.
That's where I ended up going on the morning of the Brighton game because I couldn't get into Everard's. That's my lucky charm now. I need to go there again.
Yeah, maybe it is.
So when we manage to get Hannah across to the UK, we'll have to take her to Jennos.
Whereabouts are you, Hannah?
I'm in Canada.
Oh, I love Canada.
Have you been?
Yeah, I went a few times as a kid.
Oh, where about? Like, which parts were you at?
Toronto, Montreal, Quebec.
Oh, okay.
We went to like Lake Ontario, Paris Sands, that kind of area. For like, we had family friends who owned like a little like old house on a lake that had like no running water, like no drinking running water, and an outside toilet. We went there a few times. I think I went 3 times between the age of like 12 and 18. My parents took us back, just like swim in the lake. Yeah, pee outside for a week. It was beautiful. I'd love to go to the other side. That's really poor geography. Never eat shredded wheat. West side. At some point, but
I'm based in the West, so you 100% have to visit the West, because I might be biased, but the West is definitely the best side. Ontario too. I'll give Ontario credit, but they don't have the mountains that we have. So
yeah, I need to go skiing up there.
Exactly. And if you like walking a lot, then it's perfect. You can go hiking too.
Yeah, definitely.
Balance yourself out.
About a year ago, we had a conversation about, because Hannah lives in the West Side, how I should go to the West Side. And since then, Lydia, she's been telling me that it gets down to -30, -50. It's kind of put me off a little bit.
Yeah, that would put me off too as well.
It's not that bad. It's not too bad. Once you're used to it, it's okay. The sun's still out, so yeah, it's not appealing whatsoever for either of you, I can tell.
I'm
Nah,
okay
just
with
come when
cold.
it's
That's just
warm.
too cold.
Nah, it did get pretty bad. It was -50 over Christmas, and I just stayed inside. I was like, I'm not going out there. But if you bring all your Starbucks mugs, you can store so many hot drinks in there, so then you'd be perfectly fine.
Yeah, true.
It balances out again. It's perfect. But if you're willing to show us the collection, and you're wanting to show us the collection, I
Yeah.
feel like the fans would love it.
Let's move the cube in. There you go.
Oh,
There's
wow.
a few being washed at the moment, but how do I turn that? There you go. That was poor coordination.
You have like a full-on display for it.
Yeah, my brother-in-law made this. Oh,
Wow.
go
Awesome.
that way. Sorry. Yeah, coffee travels. So pretty much got everywhere I ever went with England, plus holidays. I fill the rack now. I've got a Holland one that's in work that I said to Esme I'd have there to represent her roots. And I need to switch it around every so often, really. So I'm not prioritising one player. So I think Sophie Howard's from Germany. So next time I'll have to take one of my German ones in. Or Scotland, whichever she decides she'd prefer.
That's really cool. I thought it was just like a shelf full of mugs when you explained it. Like I thought you just had a cupboard full of mugs, but that's really cool.
No, yeah, just got to like take them off, use them, wash them, and hang them back up. It's pretty good.
Do you have a favorite?
Maybe not a favorite. Like my first ever England camp where I was a head coach, my mum brought me an England one. So that's probably like a little bit sentimental, and that was probably like early when I started the collection. So maybe that one. But like, yeah, there's just some crazy places on there, and it's nice just to go. Oh, well, I'll have Vietnam for breakfast this morning, and yeah, and then Disney for dinner. So yeah, not bad.
Is there any mugs that you kind of want? Is there anything that the elusive mug that you've always wanted and thought, I need to get that mug?
Well, I'm disappointed there isn't a Leicester one or a Leicestershire one. That's upsetting because there is Cambridgeshire. So I've got Cambridgeshire because I technically live in Cambridgeshire. So I was disappointed that didn't exist. My big thing is that I don't take them unless I've been to the country. So I've been offered many a mug from people that know I collect them, but I want to know that I've been there before I take it. So yeah.
I mean, you've technically been to Canada, so I can send you a Canada one.
True. I've got Toronto already, I think. So, but I can't have a never reach any West Canada one until I've been.
That's fair. That's fair. That's got to be your goal now, is to just go everywhere possible so you can get any mug.
I need to go to Seattle really because that's the original, isn't it? So
that's true.
Yeah.
I've been to Seattle and they literally have a Starbucks on every single corner. It's crazy.
Yeah, I bet that's quite cool.
You can get the mug there and it's perfect. The OG. James, do you have anything?
No, I was just going to say it's been amazing having you on, Lydia. Really insightful, and I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to come on and giving like so much insight and being so connected with all of us. So it truly means a lot. So thank you.
No problem.
And thank you to everyone who's taken the time to watch. As always, your support is so immensely appreciated. Make sure you join the Supporters Club if you haven't joined them already. Like Lydia said, get there for the West Ham game on Sunday if you're able to. Show your support. I'll be supporting from home, of course, but props to everyone who's traveled to games. I've heard the atmosphere is great, so just huge credit to all the fans that are out there. Her Game 2 are a great campaign. Make sure you check out all of their stuff on their social media. Menfees, I always mess this up. Menfees are a great charity, so make sure you check out everything they're doing. They constantly have so many projects on the go. We currently have something in the works with them as well that we're super excited to share very soon. So keep an eye on all of their stuff. And we're going to post Lydia's GoFundMe as well for her amazing cause. So we'll probably put it in the description of this video as well on all of our socials. So keep an eye out for that one, and keep an eye on Lydia's socials as well for anything she may post regarding it. So thank you again, everyone, for watching, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.